The announcement that the United States will not attend the G20 summit in South Africa has quietly unsettled the global diplomatic landscape. It is not merely the absence of an American delegation that matters. Leaders skip meetings from time to time. What makes this moment significant is the symbolism, the deliberate empty chair of a nation that once used these gatherings as stages to project leadership. Since the G20 began in 1999, Washington has never opted out by choice. This decision, therefore, merits closer interpretation. It is not simply a missed meeting, but a calculated message in a world undergoing a deep structural shift. The international order is no longer shaped by uncontested U.S. dominance. Instead, the world is moving into a diffused, multipolar arrangement. Washington's traditional tools of influence, moral authority, financial supremacy, and alliance management no longer carry unquestioned weight. The shift between Biden's diplomatic approach and Trump's more transactional style has further blurred America's strategic consistency. Against this backdrop, skipping the Johannesburg summit resembles less a scheduling issue and more an attempt to avoid a forum where the United States no longer directs the narrative. South Africa, the host, sits at the crossroads of a rising global South. After leading the BRICS expansion earlier this year, Pretoria has become a platform for countries seeking alternatives to Western-centered institutions. For Washington, this is contested ground. The summit's agenda to dollarization, financial restructuring, and increased representation for developing economies runs counter to U.S. preferences. By not showing up, America ensures that these discussions unfold without its influence. The official justification, citing unspecified scheduling conflicts and concerns about South Africa's domestic policies, convinces few observers. Diplomats see a different motive, the desire to avoid an uncomfortable international scene featuring both China and Russia. With Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin confirmed to attend, Washington risks appearing isolated, especially after years of sanctions, rivalry, and competing visions for the future. Participating would put the U.S. in a spotlight it does not want, present, yet unable to shape the outcome. Beyond the optics lies a deeper fatigue. The U.S. once treated global meetings as instruments of leadership. Now, participation itself feels less like influence and more like constraint. The empty American seat in Johannesburg will not be interpreted as moral protest, but as a sign of withdrawal. The G20, created to foster global economic cooperation, will meet without the country that once championed multilateral dialogue. Domestically, Washington framed its absence as a moral stand, raising concerns over South Africa's treatment of minorities and the rule of law. Commentators quickly turned this into a narrative of racial justice, an argument easily digested by the American public. Yet this moral reasoning is thin. The U.S. has often used human rights language strategically, applying it when convenient and overlooking it when alliances or economic interests demand silence. Claiming that the boycott is a defense of justice in South Africa rings hollow too much of the world. To many in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, this justification appears selective, an excuse to avoid facing a geopolitical environment increasingly shaped by China and Russia. Pretoria's closer alignment with Beijing and Moscow, its criticism of Western sanctions, and its advocacy for reforms in global financial institutions all signal a break from Washington's preferred order. The racial argument allows the U.S. to disengage without admitting discomfort with this new political reality. China, meanwhile, steps into the gap effortlessly. With the United States absent, Beijing enters Johannesburg as the most influential power in the room, a leader of the global South offering an alternative vision for global economic governance. Where Washington withdraws, China advances. Where the U.S. speaks of principles, Beijing speaks of cooperation and development. The contrast is striking, one power stepping back, the other stepping forward. What the United States loses is not just a seat, it is the psychological advantage of presence. Global leadership is as much about showing up as it is about shaping policy. By not attending, Washington inadvertently strengthens the perception that its era of uncontested influence is fading. Middle powers like India, Brazil, and Indonesia want engagement, not silence. Developing nations want partners, not absentees. In the long arc of history, power often shifts not through dramatic confrontation, but through quiet absence. The Johannesburg G20 may be remembered not for the speeches, but for the symbolism of the vacant American chair, an image many will interpret as a turning point. For China and the global South, it signals opportunity. For the United States, it signals retreat. Thank you for watching.
Want the facts? The latest updates? News that gets straight to the point? Then stay tuned. This is First Post Live, your window into what truly matters. Don't miss it.